August 6, 1943. A dirt ridge above the town of Troina, Sicily. General Terry Allen hadn't slept in 4 days. His division had just survived 24 separate German counterattacks, thrown by an enemy that had been ordered to hold that ridge no matter the cost. Allen's own artillery officer, a young colonel named William Westmoreland, had been blown into the air by a landmine and nearly killed just getting supplies to the front. This was, in George Patton's own words, the hardest fight of the entire Sicilian campaign. Allen won it. His men broke the German line. Troina fell. And within days, Terry Allen's face was on the cover of Time magazine, the most celebrated American general in the entire theater. Then somebody fired him. Not demoted, not reassigned, relieved of command, in disgrace, and shipped back to the United States, like a man who had failed his country. The most successful combat division commander in the U.S. Army, removed from his division within days of its greatest victory. For 80 years, people have argued about who actually gave that order, and why. But before we get to that, you need to understand exactly what the Army threw away. Terry de la Mesa Allen failed the entrance exam at West Point, twice. He wasn't a spit-and-polish officer, and he never pretended to be one. He got his commission through a Catholic university ROT program most of the top brass had never even heard of. In the First World War, while other officers directed battles from behind the lines, Allen personally led patrols out into no man's land, the strip of dirt between the trenches, where nobody with any sense chose to go voluntarily. That wasn't recklessness. That was a young officer deciding he would never ask a soldier to do something he wasn't willing to do first. By 1942, Allen commanded the 1st Infantry Division, the Big Red One, in North Africa, and he ran that division like nothing the U.S. Army had seen before. Uniforms were loose, salutes were casual. Allen didn't care if a soldier's boots were shined or his collar was buttoned. He cared about one thing: could that soldier fight, and would he come home? Off the battlefield, his men drank hard, gambled, brawled in the streets of Oran, and generally behaved like men who understood something their commanders back at headquarters didn't. Every single one of them knew that tomorrow they might not be alive to enjoy a clean uniform. That's the detail that gets lost when historians write about Allen's discipline problems. Ask any man who has actually stood in a foxhole waiting for the sun to come up, wondering if it's the last sunrise he'll ever see, and he will tell you exactly why Allen's soldiers drank too much and fought too hard when the guns went quiet. Frontline infantry doesn't survive on parade ground bearing. It survives on trust between men who know their commander bleeds with them. Allen gave his soldiers that. In return, the 1st Infantry Division fought with a ferocity that generals twice as polished couldn't buy at any price. Omar Bradley hated it. Bradley, who would go on to command an entire army group, believed an army ran on order, hierarchy, and appearance. To him, Allen's division looked like a mob wearing uniforms. He pushed, more than once, to have Allen removed before the invasion of Sicily ever began. And the man who stood in the way, the man who protected Terry Allen, was George Patton. Patton, of all people, the general famous for demanding shined boots and starched collars from every soldier under his command. When Bradley pressed him to replace Allen before Sicily, Patton refused. He had reviewed Allen's combat record from Tunisia personally, and he knew exactly what he was looking at. A commander whose division fought like no other unit in the theater. Patton wanted results on the battlefield, and Terry Allen delivered them every single time he was asked. For a while, that was enough to keep Allen in command. Then came Sicily, then came Troina, and then came the slap. In an army hospital that same August, George Patton struck a shell-shocked soldier and called him a coward in front of witnesses. The scandal that followed nearly ended Patton's career. He was sidelined, humiliated, and effectively removed from active command in the Mediterranean, while Eisenhower decided his fate. The one general who had stood between Terry Allen and the officers who wanted him gone was suddenly gone himself. Within days, Terry Allen was relieved of command. The official reason given was discipline, lax standards, a division that looked, on paper, like it needed a firmer hand. That was the story Bradley told, and for decades, that was the story most histories repeated. But look closer at the timeline, and the official story starts to fall apart. Some historians who have gone through the record argue it wasn't discipline at all. They argue Allen had simply been in constant combat for 8 straight months, longer than almost any division commander in the U.S. Army, and that the decision was less about punishment and more about a man who had been pushed past what any human being could sustain. Others argue something colder, that Bradley had wanted Allen gone for a long time, resented how beloved he was by his own men, resented the attention Time magazine had just given him, and used the first available moment, the moment Patton could no longer protect him, to finally push him out. Both explanations exist in the historical record. Neither one has ever been fully settled, and both point to the same uncomfortable truth. The generals running that war valued something other than winning battles. Think about what actually happened at Troina. 24 German counterattacks. The hardest fight of the whole campaign, by Patton's own assessment. Allen's division didn't just hold the line. They broke an enemy that had been given direct orders to die on that ridge rather than retreat. And the reward for that performance was a one-way ticket home in disgrace. While men who had never led a division into a fight like that sat comfortably behind a desk, deciding his fate. That is the part of this story that should make you angry. Not because Allen was perfect. He wasn't. But because an army that claims to exist to win wars chose, in that moment, to punish the general who was actually winning it, for the crime of not looking like a soldier in a recruitment poster. Here's what should have ended Terry Allen's career for good. It didn't. Less than a year later, George Marshall, the Army Chief of Staff, gave Allen a new division to build from scratch. The 104th Infantry Division, nicknamed the Timberwolves, training at a camp in Oregon that most soldiers had never heard of. Allen did exactly what he had done with the Big Red One. He built a division around trust instead of parade ground perfection. And the Timberwolves fought their way across France, through Holland, and into Germany itself, becoming one of the first American divisions to reach the Elbe River, the line where the war in Europe would finally end. The general the U.S. Army decided wasn't fit to command led another division from the beaches of a training camp to the heart of collapsing Nazi Germany. Bradley's judgment said Terry Allen was finished. The war itself said otherwise. So who was actually right? The men in headquarters who wanted crisp salutes and clean paperwork, or the general who understood that a soldier who trusts his commander will follow him into hell and come back alive? Ask the men who served under Allen in North Africa, in Sicily, in Holland, at the Elbe. Most of them didn't remember a man who lacked discipline. They remembered a man who never once asked them to do something he wouldn't do himself, and who somehow, again and again, brought more of them home than anyone had a right to expect. 80 years later, the argument still hasn't been settled, because it was never really about discipline in the first place. It was about what an army decides to reward. Bradley rewarded appearance. Patton, for one brief moment when it mattered most, rewarded results, and it cost him the political capital to keep protecting the man who earned them. Terry Allen rewarded nothing but the truth on the battlefield, over and over, whether headquarters wanted to hear it or not. Discipline wins inspections, trust wins battles, and history remembers the men who actually brought their soldiers home.